There's one. And he came out of nowhere. Absolutely out of nowhere. Oh yeah. Nice crappie. Morning guys. We are just packing up for another trip out on the ice with the trusty four-wheeler here. It is that time of year now. We've got 6 to 10 inches of ice and some snow cover. We can get the wheeler out. The fish are a lot less spooky. And what I want to do today is show you exactly how we target panfish in 3 different patterns right now. This time of year, late December, all the way through the mid-January, and even through the rest of the ice season, some of these patterns might hold up. But the first pattern is going to be like a mid-basin or first basin pattern. The second pattern is going to be a night bite for crappies, which is really fun. And then the third pattern is going to be a weed-oriented bluegill pattern. So we're just going to touch on each one, kind of show you exactly how we look for these areas, and then catch a few fish in each situation, show you what we're using, and kind of go over the specifics of how we fish those 3 patterns. So let's jump right into it. Pattern number 1, mid-basin or first basin. This is one of my favorite patterns this time of year. Those bluegills and crappies that were in the weeds oftentimes push out of them in the fall and into early winter onto the first gravel flat or sand flat adjacent to the weeds. They haven't moved out to the deep muddy basin yet. They're just sitting on some of that harder bottom structure off the weeds, and you can find them by just dropping your Vexilar in or your flasher and finding little pods of fish scattered around in that 15 to 20 foot. And that's what we did on this particular morning. We set up some tip-ups on the weed lines for walleyes. It was slow, but we knew there was panfish in the area, and we ended up doing really well on the crappies and gills. So let's hop into that, go check it out, and catch a few fish here, and we'll show you what we're doing. There's one. And he came out of nowhere. Absolutely out of nowhere. Oh yeah. Nice crappie. Come on, buddy. Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about right there. That is a perfect crappie. And he just came up and crushed it. I just put up the shack here. It's getting a little chilly out. And we were catching some crappies, but as soon as I put up the shack, they kind of moved away. And then that guy just came in and smoked it just now. Probably a 11-inch crappie. That's about the top end of what I'm going to keep today. Anything over that I'm going to let go, but what a beautiful, nice, thick fish right there. Sweet. So what I'm using here right now is I went to just a little dingle drop in gold with a couple of maggots on it. Going pretty finesse right now because these fish are just super finicky out on this basin bite. And they're eating bugs, little tiny bugs, and they want to come up and stare at your bait, and then if you don't pull it away from them and make them chase it up, most likely they're not going to hit. But oftentimes if you've got too big of a bait on, it doesn't matter what you do, they're just not going to eat it. So yeah, one's following it now. There he is. Got him. This is why I like this Neptune in the shack, because it keeps that rod tip right down by the ice and you still have a lot of room to set the hook. Hey, nice gill. That's a perfect eater there. A little 7.5 incher. Definitely keep that guy for a meal. There's a high mark. Oh, he's chasing it. Oh, did he chase it down. A lot of times those high suspended marks are going to be the ones that come up and just crush it. Another nice crappie. Oh yeah. Look at that fish. Oh, awesome. This is turning into a crappie trip. I've caught 1 walleye so far, and it's been on my jigging rod. There's another one suspended down here. I got to get back down. And we've had 2 flags, and both of them have dropped the bait. So the walleye plans may not happen, but we're not going home empty-handed today. I mean, they are stacked here. They're just coming up and crushing it now. There's another one. Oh, these are fun. These are fun. Another keeper. That's a perfect eater right there. He's more like that 9-inch size. Oh, this one just racing up from the bottom at it right now. He's covering 6 feet in about 3 seconds, and Boom, there he is. Oh, that's fun. He saw that jig from way down there. Nice. Another perfect eater. About an 8-incher. Almost got enough for a meal already. Then I'm gonna probably take some different baits and do some experimenting. Well, that was a ton of fun. We caught a bunch of fish. Nice fish, you know, and that bite lasted about 2 hours in the morning, and oftentimes that bite will shut off once it gets light. You can still pick off a few fish, but they get really finicky. So that was a fun pattern. Now let's move to the night bite for crappies. And basically this starts right at dark, and you can fish crappies all the way through the night. They'll actually bite. And oftentimes it's the same areas. So, you know, we were in a similar situation as the video I just showed you on this one, but it was a little bit more of a gravel point, and those fish are highly pressured. There's tons of people around during the day, but they almost all leave at night, and these fish get much more active and aggressive at night, especially the bigger fish. They get a little bit less picky about the bait and get a little bit more aggressive. So let's go check this one out and you'll see what I mean. Got one on the jaw jacker here. Just marked a bunch of fish come through. I think they're crappies. Yep, there we go. So I've got one set line with a smaller minnow on it right in the shack, which is basically like a dead stick, similar to a dead stick, but I'm using a jaw jacker, so it's automatically going to set the hook for me. But we just caught that one walleye right away as soon as we got set up here, and hopefully we'll continue to have some action, and hopefully we can catch a few eaters and maybe a big one. We'll see. Just marked some panfish here. I just switched up to the tungsten, and sure enough, we are hooked up. What do we have here? Looks like a nice crappie. Another nice crappie. This is why I like spots like this, where you've got kind of that mid-depth basin, and you've got a weed line, and you've got a deep basin. A lot of times you've got multiple species in the same area, and you can kind of, if one doesn't pan out, like, you know, we didn't pan out on the walleyes this morning, we had plenty of panfish to make up for it. So, you marked in there? I got one chasing me right now.
Yeah, but they ain't moving.
There he is.
Sitting like a rock.
Got him. Got him. This one's pretty nice. I'm gonna try booster too. Yeah, another crappie. Good eater. Oh, here comes one.
No, it's coming up right.
I got one coming in hot on me right now. There he is.
There, I finally
Got
teased him into it.
Doubled up.
That thing was sitting there forever.
This one's got some good head shakes too. Another nice one.
That's a nice one. That's a good eater.
Couple nice crappies there, nice pair. Man, that one was on it. Oh, he's on it again. There he is. Oh yeah.
Got the
Oh,
action.
that's fun. This one's got some head shakes too.
Yeah.
Another nice. They're all about the same.
Are you pulling them
Just
off
nice
the bottom,
eaters.
or are they coming in?
They're about a foot off the bottom.
Yeah.
What I'm using to catch these crappies right now is just a clam swirl drop with a Euro tackle plankton on there, and that's a great bait at night. It has a really buggy profile. It's got a little shine to it, and same thing pretty much we were using this morning. Oh, come on. Oh yeah, that might not be a crappie. If it is, it's a big one.
Good. Still
That
on your
thing was
tungsten?
super-
Or you're on your plastic?
Super aggressive. Now it's a little walleye. I thought that acted like a walleye. It isn't a big one, but it just didn't act like a crappie. He chased that thing down totally different than a crappie would. So that's walleye number 2. Not the size we're looking for, but it is a walleye. It was a good day. We had a good couple hours this morning. Caught one walleye, a bunch of crappies, and pretty much did the same thing again tonight. We definitely had a lot more flags tonight, but they were really finicky and they just wouldn't eat it. Stayed nice and comfy warm in the X400 clam thermal. Had lots of fun. It was a good day. So as you can see, night bite for crappies can be a lot of fun. Gives you some more opportunities to get out there, you know, when you might not have time during the day. So that's a great pattern. That will last most of the winter. If you can find crappies, they will often bite at night. So that's a fun one to use when you want to get out after supper or something. This next bite is a very typical bluegill scenario. It's a weed bite. It's a shallow weed bed type situation. You're not necessarily putting your flasher down and marking big schools of fish. You're finding weeds and fishing them to see if the fish are there, or you're dropping a camera down to actually spot fish in the weeds. And that pattern can hold through the whole entire winter. There's always fish in the weeds in most lakes in the area. So look for holes in the weeds. Oftentimes that's where you're going to find these fish. Not necessarily in the stuff that comes all the way up to the ice, but in flatter pockets in the weeds is where the fish are going to stack up. And then of course on weed edges, there's always panfish on the edges of those weeds where it drops off into deeper water and the weeds start to taper off. Especially on a slow taper where the weeds really slowly die off, that's a really good place to look for panfish in the winter, because they have more area that they can use rather than a real steep, you know, drop off where the weeds cut off real quick. Let's go check this one out and you'll see what I mean. All right, so today I'm fishing a little bit lighter. I'm fishing with the 64th ounce drop jig, clam drop in. I've got this jig tipped with just a Euro tackle bloodworm, and I like that little bit lighter weight. Here comes the fish right now. There he is. There we go. That's a start, not a monster, but that's a good sign. They're here. It can be kind of hard to see these fish. It's not like the Basin where you can just go out and put your flasher down and see marks down there. These things are going to be in the weeds, so you're only going to see weeds. But when you put your bait down there and keep it above the weeds, you'll see marks just kind of come up and rise out of them. So the only real way to know that these fish are here is either to drop a camera, which sometimes works, or you can just drill a bunch of holes and start fishing them and see if you can get some fish to move, which is what I'm doing today. And when I'm fishing bluegills, I tend to go with something fairly small in size, just so they can get it in their mouth and I can get a good hook set. If I'm fishing more aggressive crappies, then I might go to something a little bit bigger profile that they have no trouble inhaling and they can see it from a little bit farther. But when I'm on bluegills like this and I know they're here comes another one. I like them to be able to get that bait in their mouth. This one feels better. Oh yeah, that one's a little better. That's a keeper right there, like a 7.5 incher. They're getting bigger, that's good. But that little tiny bait, they have no trouble sucking that in one gulp, and they're not gonna pick at it like they might with a bigger plastic. So come on, there we go. That one feels decent. Oh yeah, oh yeah, that's what we're looking for right there. That's what we're looking for. That's a solid 8.5 inch gill right there, and there's more down there, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to keep a couple for dinner. That's a perfect eater. Much bigger than that, and I'm going to definitely release them, but there's more fish down here. I can see them. I kind of found a little hole in the weeds here. It's like all 8 feet in here, and there wasn't any weeds right in this particular hole, and the bluegills are stacked in this little hole here. There we go. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I don't know what this is, but if this is a panfish, it is a giant. Holy cow. What do we have? This got to be a bass. It's got to be. Yep, largemouth. Haha. Nice one too. Look at that. Oh, that's fun. That is fun. That's a chunky largemouth right there. That's a good time catching that on that little tiny jig. So that one's a little bit big to eat, so we're gonna let him go. Oh. Yeah, another nice one. Another nice one. Look at that. Those are just beautiful bluegills. Absolutely gorgeous. So there you have it. 3 patterns you can go use. Anytime you go out fishing for panfish, you can look for these spots, use the exact same techniques we were using, and you should be able to catch some fish. So get out there on the ice, guys, and get hooked up.